Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be my summer houseplant tour. I've gotten a lot of houseplants since my kind of winter season one, and they've been doing pretty well, so I'm really excited to show you guys. I even got one just today that I'm super excited to show you, so let's hop into it. So the order that I'm going to be doing this is kind of in the newest ones that I've gotten onto the oldest ones that I've had that I still have. I've gotten rid of some since my last houseplant tour video, and it's just, you know, the houseplants that I'm not loving as much, or I've given some to friends and that sort of thing. But the first, a lot of them are really new plants, but it's gonna be the newest ones to the oldest. Okay, the first one I just got today, and I'm super excited. I got the plant and pot combination, and it is actually my first Hoya. And I don't know if you've seen my very opinionated worst houseplants video and just houseplants that I dislike or regret getting, but Hoya was on that list. I made some promises I was going to try it again if I found a Hoya that I liked, and today I found one. So this is, I think, a Hoya publicalis. It's got a little bit of splash on the leaves, and it's in this really cute puppy dog pot, and I'm just really excited about it because he's just so cute and little, and he's just got such pretty leaves, and I love small little vining plants, and he's got a new growth point on him as well, so I'm just really excited to see him grow. And I think it was the big green leaves that kind of turned me into ooh, that's a really nice plant, even though it is a Hoya, and I usually don't really like Hoyas all that much. The next one is actually one of my wish list plants that I've mentioned on that video before, and it is a pothos. I think it's a pearls and jade. I'm not sure how to tell the difference between an enjoy and a pearls and jade, but I think this one's pearls and jade because it's got a bit more speckled green on the leaves, and it's not just solidly white and green. But it's this 6-inch pot, and it's almost trailing. There's a few vines, especially on this side, that are really close to trailing over the pot. And that was kind of what I wanted. There's obviously, these leaves burn really easily, so there are some leaves that are going yellow already, but not a big deal because, it's such a full pot of it. But I'm really excited for this plant and to watch him grow. Like I said, this was one of my wish list plants that I just had been holding out for, the plant that I really loved, because these aren't necessarily hard to find, but I just wanted one that was the size I wanted and how full I wanted it and all that sort of stuff. So I'm really excited about him, and I think he made a great addition to my collection. The next plant is also a wish list plant, and it is this small hanging basket of neon pothos, and I think it needs to be watered right now, so it's a bit droopier than normal, but I love this plant. I love neon leaves, and I love pothos leaves, especially when they're really big like this, and it was just the perfect size for me. I didn't really want a massive pot of pothos because I have quite a lot of big plants in terms of hanging plant types. So yeah, this little 4-inch is perfect for me right now. It might need repotting sooner than I would like, but I'm going to just hold on to this size as long as I can. But honestly, I'm just so excited because I love neon pothos and neon anything varieties. I just think they're so much more fun than just the regular green. But I'm super excited to watch this one grow and watch him get bigger and fuller, and if I need to repot, I'll repot, but hopefully I can keep them in this as long as I can. The next one I've already shown on my channel before because I did a whole rehab video following when I got it to versus now, because it was in a bit of a state when I got it, and I have 3 of them, but I can only hold 2 in my hand right now because I just can't hold all of them at the same time. But it's a peperomia obtusifolia, I believe is how you say it. I butcher it every single time I try to say it, but super hardy plants. Like I said, I have 3 of them. 2 of them are flowering, which is fantastic considering the state they were in just a couple weeks ago. And they've been doing great. This is probably the smallest one that I have, and then this one is the biggest one that I have at the moment. And my future plan for these is to get them really big, and then when they outgrow their 4-inch pots, put them all together in a 6-inch and kind of make a really big plant out of it in the future. Obviously that's going to take years and years to do, but that is my future goals for these. My next one I've shown as well on my low maintenance houseplant lists that are my favorites and all that, but it is this small little burgundy ficus elastica, and it's just really fun. I need to obviously point that side towards the sun a bit more so it fills out like this side, but he's been doing super well. These are so low maintenance, and I just love the big dark leaves, and I thought it was just the perfect little addition with how the shape of it. I'm really particular about the shapes of my plants just because some grow really tall and just upwards, others grow outwards and stuff. And I have a lot of tall growing plants, and I just wanted one that was a bit more like well-rounded and kind of just all over the place rather than just one directional. The next plant was a bit of a trial plant for me. I hadn't seen it anywhere and I didn't know anybody that had it. It's not necessarily like a rare plant, but I just don't think people usually think, oh, that's the plant that I want when they think like houseplant wish list and all that. But it's a peperomia scandens, and it is, I believe, I don't know of any other climbing or vining peperomia, but I know this one is. It's super different than all the other plants that I have, and I think that's why I liked it so much. This is a variegated one, but he's been super fun to just kind of see how he grows, and it's been a definite experimental purchase and plant that I've had. But I think it's really fun, and it's definitely been a big learning experience for me, and obviously he's not completely happy with me yet, but I'm just excited to kind of see how he grows, how he does, and just what I can do to make him happier. The next plant that I have that's been doing really well actually, and I wasn't necessarily expecting it to do this well because I didn't have a whole lot of experience with this type of plant and I didn't know a lot of people that had it, is my treubii moonlight. And this is a scindapsus, and I love this plant. I am learning to love it more and more. But as you can see, it's starting to vine off to this side a bit, and it does need to be watered if the pot feels really light. But I just love these leaves, and I mean, I've said it so many times on this channel, but I really love the blue kind of green leaves, and the gray tones in it. I don't know, it's just a really good plant, and it's been really hardy for me. It wasn't doing super well when I first got it, but it has bounced back like crazy. So yeah, there's no problems that I've had with this plant, and I might get another one in the future if they pop up again in the grocery stores. Might not, but we'll see. When I got my moonlight, I repotted it straight away to see what the roots looked like, and there was several cuttings in it that had some roots on it, but they weren't very well established, so I put those in water to propagate them and grow the roots bigger so I could pot those separately or back into the pot. I just didn't decide at the time, but I ended up potting them separately, so now I have a tiny little moonlight plant as well, and he's been doing super good too. He's just in a tiny 4-inch pot, his roots are not very big. But I have watered him I think once now, and I mean, just like any scindapsus, he kind of shows me when he wants to be watered. But I'm really excited to see this one grow because I love baby plants, and I'm really glad that I have a baby plant of this one as well as a bigger plant. Next on my list are my maranta plants. I have 2 of them, and they're in different spots in my house, and it's interesting to see the different way that they grow because I got both of them at the exact same time from the same place. And they were both the same shape when I got them, but as you can see, this one grew a bit more up and taller, while this one grew a bit more in a bush and wider as well as up. Both have been growing at a really good rate and have given me multiple leaves each week. It's just so interesting to see the differences in growth patterns and just health of the plant when you're having them in different situations and different places. Even though it's in the same house, same temperature, pretty much same lighting, all that, they just still grow in completely different ways. But I really love these plants too. They've been super hardy, and they kind of just take whatever I throw at them. They are picky with their humidity, but that's really it. But most plants are anyways. But yeah, these are very good. And I like that they have so much variety with how they can grow, and there's a bit of variegation on them as well. And I just hope that they can get more variegated too. So it just adds a bit more fun and interest to the plants too. But yeah, these are great as well. Next is my micans, and I have this in just a glass of water right now because I went out of town for a little bit and I didn't want this to get over or underwatered, so I put it in water just to make sure, because I know I can grow plants for at least a minute in water if I need to. And it looks like he really liked it because he started throwing out a bunch of new leaves since I've been gone. But yeah, it's really full. I need to repot it really soon. But this is one of my favorite plants. I was on the hunt for one of these forever, and I finally found one. Actually, one of my friends found one and then got it for me, and paid her back, all that sort of stuff. But I'm really, really happy that I found one. It just kind of adds to all my heartleaf collection that I have right now. And it's one of those plants I just feel like you can never get sick of and never get tired of. It just never gets boring, and the leaves are just amazing on it. They come in that reddish kind of hue. They just, I don't know. It's just a great plant all around, and if you can find one, I highly suggest you purchase one. The next plant is one that has struggled for quite a long time. I had it in a pot that was too big. I repotted it into a pot that was small enough for it, and then it just took a while to adjust, but in the process like lost a lot of its leaves, and just a lot of the leaves are damaged and all that. So he's on the road to recovery, but it's another kind of experimental plant for me. But that is a philodendron Macaulay's finale, and as you can see, there is actually the newest leaf right here, and then they have, or it has a new sprout coming in right here as well. So it does look like it's on its way up, but I mean, all the leaves are in a bit of a state other than that one. But it's been a really nice experience because it's been a different plant for me. I don't usually have a bunch of these type of plants around. So it was a very good learning experience, and I learned a lot from this plant, and I still think it's very pretty, and if it makes a comeback, then I feel like I'll just love it even more. Another plant that has been a complete learning experience for me and has been a bit of a rough one is my watermelon peperomia. It looks healthy enough most of the time, but like if I get real close here, the leaves are so just kind of damaged a bit, and yeah, they just don't come in very firm and like how I would expect a watermelon peperomia, which I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I've done the research on it, I know how to take care of it, but I don't know if it's just, yeah, it might need repotting. That's honestly probably maybe what the issue is. But like I said, a lot of these are just purely experimental plants, and it's kind of just a learn as we go type thing. But I do love this plant. I hope that I can make him thrive. I've taken some cuttings from him and they're doing really well. So it might just be a case of the plant as a whole wasn't really happy, or maybe the soil is not good that it's in, just something like that. But I'm going to figure it out eventually. Another experimental plant was my oxalis triangularis. It was much fuller before. It's not like I killed the entire plant back or whatever, but I wanted to see how it did. I knew a lot of people chopped them completely down to have them grow back fuller and more compact and everything. And I kind of wanted to just give it a go and see how it reacted and just see what's going on with it, because when I had it before, it was really, really full and big, and it's growing back pretty quickly. And I kind of like the sparseness of it. I like the just couple shoots coming out. I think it just looks really unique and really fun. But yeah, this is another plant that's been really hardy for me, and I just haven't had any issues with it really at all, other than if I put it too close to the sun, the leaves burn, but it's got delicate leaves, so I should have known better. Next is my philodendron birkin. This one is from Lowe's, I think. And funnily enough, I have two of these, and this one, although it puts out really good variegation, struggles a bit in terms of like being healthy. It's dropped a lot of leaves because when I got it, it was severely overwatered. And it's a bit of an irregular like watering pattern. Sometimes the soil dries out quicker, sometimes doesn't, and it's not even like the weather's changing all that much or anything like that. But it's just a really pretty plant. I love the variegation on it, and it's got this really fun like half reverted leaf back here. And it's just your traditional birkin, but my other birkin I like because it's got less variegation and it kind of grows a bit more in a unique way. And let me grab that one. So this is my other birkin, and as you can see, it's a lot more full. There's a lot more leaves like coming out. It's almost like the stems are quite a bit longer than the other one. The other one kind of grows more up and this one's more out, but it's a lot more green, as you can see, than the other one. It still has variegation in it, but I just like the big green leaves as well. So I just knew I had to keep both of them, and I mean, you can never have too many duplicates of plants. Next up is one of my biggest plants that I have, but also one of my favorite plants, and that is my philodendron burle marx. And as you can see, that leaf closest to the camera right here is the newest leaf on this plant, and I'm so excited because I love big leafy plants. Like honestly, that's the reason I got into plants in the first place. But new growth just makes me so happy, especially when it's on a big plant like this. It definitely took a lot longer than I expected to adjust to the new like environment and stuff like that. And I mean, it makes sense though, because big plants, you know, there's more plant to adjust than like a small little plant. But he's been doing really well, especially with the summer months coming up and just the warmer weather. He's been really liking it. Another one of my favorite plants that I've gotten in the recent months is my begonia. And this plant has also kind of been a bit like, there's a lot of crispy edges and like kind of blemishes on these leaves, and I'm not entirely sure why, because it hasn't really been like misbehaving in any other way other than that. But he's been growing so incredibly fast, and I just love, I know some people don't like these leaves because they think that they look like something's wrong with the plant, but I just think it's so unique and just a fun addition to everything else that I have in here. And I do stake it up so it grows a bit taller rather than out, but as you can see, some of it's starting to grow a bit more out than up. So yeah, he's just super fun. I have moved him into a shadier spot, so hopefully that gets rid of some of the like burns on the leaves that it has. But I mean, still, it puts out so much new growth and so many new leaves each week. And yeah, he's just been doing really well overall. Next up is a plant that I didn't think I would like all that much, but it's grown on me so much since I got it. And that is my marble queen pothos. It's been doing so well. It was struggling a bit when I first got it, and that's because the soil wasn't quite right for it. Just a bit too dry. It didn't really hold the water very well, so I changed out the soil, and he's been so much happier since then. He's starting to trail a little bit on this side. I think just a couple more leaves and he'll be trailing in no time, but I really, really love him, and I just think he's a lot more unique than a lot of the other plants that I have. Another plant that I love is just my regular green heartleaf philodendron. Like I said, I just love these plants overall. This one was not trailing at all when I got him, so the fact that he's already all the way down here just after a couple of months is really, really great to me, and he's still putting out so much new growth every single week. Every single time I look at him, I think I see more new growth, and just like from vines I didn't even know existed. So he's gotten really full really quickly. Probably time to propagate him a bit, to be honest, but he does so incredibly well. He is kind of my most neglected plant. Like, he just sits on a high shelf away from everything else, and he's still doing this good. So I really like this plant, and he's grown on me from just the small little plant that he used to be. The next one I know you could see in the back before, but it is my second heartleaf philodendron, just the regular green variety. And this one is in a hanging basket, obviously, but I couldn't say no to this one when I saw him. He's just got the biggest leaves I've seen on like a non-totem or climbing pole variation of this plant. Just the fact that he's in a hanging basket and he's doing this well, I just couldn't pass him up, and he just got so much foliage to show off, and he grows so incredibly quickly. And yeah, I knew I needed him right when I saw him, but he's a really, really great one as well. And yeah, he's just got these great massive leaves, and he's one of my favorites for sure. While we're on the heartleaf philodendron run, this is my neon heartleaf, and I actually just chopped him up here to propagate some of his vine because he was getting a bit too long for the trellis I made him. But yeah, he is honestly one of my favorites, and he always has been, just because I really love little plants and I really love heartleaf philodendron, so both of those combined was just perfect. This vine down here actually is a reverted silver stripe philodendron that I have that just started pushing out neon growth, and I chopped it back to encourage more variegation in that plant. So he joined this pot. But I probably will have to repot him soon, just because I feel like his roots might be getting a bit too big for this pot, because they were already pretty big when I put them in. But I just think he looks so pretty in this, and I love, like I said, I love little plants and I love watching them grow. Speaking of my silver stripe philodendron, this is him, and he has grown so incredibly much since I got here, and he has put out so many new highly variegated leaves, and I'm so excited because I just love the variegation on this plant in particular. If I can get close enough to show you his most variegated vine, he's just got the prettiest leaves up here, and I just love it so much. I mean, these are one of my favorite plants anyways, and just having these really, really pretty creamy colored leaves I love it so much. Is this one, if I ever had to part with him, I would probably cry, because I love him very much. The last plant in my heartleaf collection is my philodendron brasil, and this is in a 4-inch pot, and he's grown this long and this full. I used to have him trailing off my bookshelf, but I've since put him up in a hanging basket and wrapped his vines around just this rack you can see behind me. And since then, his vines have gotten so much thicker, and he's just been doing so much better since I've put him on the hanging rack and like the basket than when I was just trailing him. And I mean, how could you not just, it's such a long and just full plant. And I mean, that is why I got into plants in the first place. I just really loved almost the house feeling like a jungle. And if this isn't gonna do it, then no other plant is, but he's been doing so incredibly well. And this is another one that I've had literally from the start when he was all the way up here. So all this growth was, and I've propagated him multiple times, but this is all just completely new from when I first had him. So it makes it a lot more emotional, and like makes me a lot more attached to the plant than, just any other plant that I would have. And that's the beauty of getting baby plants, is you get to watch them go through all of this and kind of just grow up with you. All right, next is another one of my favorite plants, and it's my string of hearts, and he probably needs to be watered too because he feels very light. But he is one that was originally 4 strands, and I've put a couple cuttings in there since because I mean I take cuttings from him all the time because he just grows a bit too quickly for me to keep up with. But he's another one of my favorites just because he's got the nicest leaves, and yeah, he's always been a favorite. I just really like trailing plants, and he definitely fits that bill. He has gotten a bit more bare at the top, so I do need to wrap some vines around in there so they can root in there and kind of just fill out the top a bit more. But yeah, he's still growing amazingly well. I do need to like fertilize him, do all that sort of stuff now that the summer months are here. But he hasn't even slowed growth in the winter, even with a big shock and change of environment and all that sort of stuff. So very hardy plant. Just make sure you give him a lot of sun. So the next 2 plants come from the exact same mother plant, and they are cuttings of that plant, and I still have like 5 other cuttings that I haven't potted up. But it is my scindapsus. I don't know how to say the second part of that, like the variety, but I'll put it on the screen right here because there's no way I can say that properly. Also known as a satin pothos, but he grows so quickly I can't keep up with it. Like I said, these are just 2 plants that I've made from like several cuttings, and I still have plenty more cuttings where that came from. I just don't have enough pots to pot them up in, so I will soon have a tiny little army of these things just growing everywhere. But I am really excited because like I said, I love baby plants, and this, I'll show you the main plant next, but it just gives me so many. So this is the mother plant of those few small potted cutting plants that I just showed. And yeah, I mean, it's trailing quite a lot. And when I first moved here a couple months ago, it was literally up to here. So like all of this is new growth, and all of it's just completely new trailing, and I can't keep up with it. Like honestly, it's starting to kind of overtake my bookshelf and cover all the rest of the shelves, like underneath it with all these new vines. It does get quite leggy as it grows out here, but I honestly don't mind that because it's really full still at the top. This was originally when I got this plant like a year ago. This was one of my like wish list plants and my main wish list plants because I got this one when I first kind of got into houseplant keeping, and that was the one that I like searched for and was just like, I've never seen one in person before, where am I gonna find it? And then just randomly I went to a plant store and they had one, and it was just so perfect. So this is a definite like emotional attachment type plant as well. This is another plant that I'm super excited about because a lot of like work and time has gone into this one, but it is my ruby ficus elastica. And this one I've had for quite a long time, and I moved in October. I moved houses, and since October it really hadn't been growing. But if I can get close enough to show you, it finally has the smallest little growth right there, and I know it's a tiny little leaf, but I am so excited to just see some life back into this plant and just to watch it grow. And I know, like I said, the growth is very, very tiny right now, but I mean, it's a start. It's a start after not growing for months upon months. So I'm really excited to see what I can do with it, if it can grow, and if I can make it thrive again, because it used to put out a new leaf like every month for me, and like big, massive leaves, as you can see. And it's one of my favorite plants. So hopefully this will start growing really quickly again in the summer, and hopefully it just gets a lot happier. One of my oldest plants that I've had is my scindapsus exotica, I believe is the variation. And when I first got this, it was in a tiny 4-inch pot with just a couple leaves, and it just has taken off since then. As you can see, one of the oldest leaves back here started to yellow and fall off, but completely natural. We're not gonna fuss over that. Because there's still like a bunch of new growth coming in like up here and all that sort of stuff. But he's been around since like the beginning of all of it, and just one of those ones that I just couldn't part with. And one of my oldest plants, and actually my oldest plant that I have still, is my golden pothos. And this one started from literally 3 leaves. I got cuttings from a friend, and it's turned into this, and I know that's not a lot, but it's been through a whole lot. I recently propagated it, so it would even be longer, but I've propagated it to fill out the top of the pot a bit, and ever since then it's been doing a lot better. Some of the old leaves are still like yellowing and dying away a bit, but like I said, I did recently move in the last year, and it went through all of that as well, so it just has had a bit of a shock in terms of environment change and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of expected it to like lose quite a few leaves, slow down growing, all that sort of stuff. But he is on the rise back, and I couldn't be happier. Like I said, this was my first plant that I grew from just, you know, 3 leaf cutting. So I'm really excited to see him thrive again and yeah, just grow really quickly like it used to. And of course, I have an entire propagation like windowsill basically behind me, as you can probably see down there. But I will show you those as well, just because I always have propagations in the works, and almost all of them can be transferred to soil already, but I just don't want to. So they kind of do count as plants, but I don't know. There's still propagations in my mind. That way they don't officially count as plants and I can get more plants. The first one is my tiny little string of turtles. Like, it's in a tiny plastic cup. And I mean, it's growing, it's doing really well. You can hardly see it because it's so small, but there are like several small shoots coming out. And I mean, it's doing really well. It's liking it so far, but I did just only recently pot this one up into some actual soil. So yeah, definitely an experiment. I categorize my propagations in like kind of species, you know? So this one is my string of hearts propagations. And I have what is left of my variegated string of hearts in this vase. Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that today, but it was a bit of a learning experience for me, and hopefully we can get a second try at it. This next one is technically still a plant, but it started as a propagation and I still like consider it like a propagation because it's not fully, it is basically a real plant now, but it's a peperomia rosso, and you can see back here, that's a whole new plant come from that main leaf right here. So I'm super excited about it because like I said, I love, you know, new plants and baby plants. I did recently plant a couple leaves from a bigger string of turtles into this soil to see if, you know, kind of just test out different ways of propagating, because I've propagated string of turtles in water before, and now I'm gonna try the soil method just with some leaves. But we'll see how that works out. Next is my strand that I had left over from my peperomia obtusifolia, and also my neon philodendron cuttings that I took a couple days ago. So those don't have roots on them yet just because it was a couple days ago, but the obtusifolia is a real like full plant down here with like a full root system. I just haven't planted them up yet because I don't have enough pots and I just haven't gotten them yet. The next ones is my monstera deliciosa baby cuttings that I have in here. And I mean, I say cuttings, but they're fully rooted down here. And I also have a peperomia raindrop cutting back here, and then an avocado pit that I'm growing as well. I've tried lots of different methods for avocado pits, but we can go into that in a different video. The monstera one's pushing out new growth like crazy. I just need to pot them up once again when I get a pot for them. The next one is my actively growing avocado pit, and then I have a micans cutting in here, and I also have one of my satin pothos cuttings in here. I mean, all 3 of them, once again, just need to be potted, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And I'm kind of waiting for the avocado pit to put some leaves on. I know that that's gonna be a harder transition, but I'm just trying new things out because I've already done it the other way, and I'm just seeing which way works best for me. Last but not least is my peperomia propagations. I have my watermelon in here, an obtusifolia leaf, my scandens, and then I have a string of turtles and a little tiny, I'm not sure what this one is called, but it's another peperomia that is already growing new roots, and I only put him in there like a week ago or so. But the watermelon definitely needs to be potted up ASAP. The other ones are still kind of growing, so I'm in no rush for those ones. But there you have it. Those are all the plants that I'm currently growing, propagating, collecting, all that sort of stuff. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. I'll give you periodic updates on all of these plants, and I'll probably do another houseplant video soon-ish, probably around the winter when I've collected more plants and when we're gearing up for winter again. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.